G'day tubers, how are we people? Hope you are all well and not suffering from the China virus. Thank you to my subscribers, my viewers and anyone else who contributes anything all to these videos. You've heard all this before. We are going to get straight into part 2 of this little Wisconsin BKND. It's coming up pretty good, this one. I don't know if it'll go, but I reckon the end of the video will tell us. Let's hook in.
Oh, it's a cylinder head cleaned up, guys. I've had the straight edge over it. Looks flat. I don't know why that head gasket was leaking. Anyway, we'll keep our eye on it. Also looking, you can see the spark plug's been had a helicoil put in it. Not that that's a big deal. Just says that someone heavy-handed's been screwing on the spark plug. Yeah. Simple as that. I don't know why you'd want to pull a plug in and out so many bloody times to do that, but anyway. Well, we'll start on the block today, guys. It's been in the parts soaker for bloody about a week. It's got most of the paint off. We'll start clean. Well, what we're going to do is lap our valves, hone our cylinders, start cleaning up the ports, clean up all the gasket faces, so on and so on. Then we'll mask it and give her a coat of engine black. But as I say, before we do that, we'll do all our dirty work, you know, clean all the surfaces, all that sort of stuff. That's the cylinder honed, guys. Nice sort of crosshatch there, no ridge, nothing like that. Yeah, I reckon that's going to be all right. It's come up quite nice, the cylinder. Yeah, that'll be good. As usual, guys, I pardon me, clean up the intake and exhaust ports a little bit. Whether it does anything or not, who knows? It's just relieving the, like if you look in that intake, just that edge there, just relieving that edge a little bit. Same on the exhaust. Look, it might help the flow a little bit. If you're not, I mean, you'd have to do your manifolds and all that as well to gain any benefit, but it's just a little peace of mind, I suppose. Well, we'll lap these valves, guys. Permatex valve grinding compound. We'll start with the exhaust. I haven't touched, I've just cleaned it, but I haven't ground it. It's not bad as it is, really, and the seats, you know, pretty good anyway, but we'll do it just so we're sure it's seating properly. Well, that's the exhaust lapped, guys. As you can see, that's like the face is beautiful. It's a little bit high. That's the dull bit. It's a little bit high, although, depending on where you look at it, I suppose. I'd prefer that to be more in the middle, but without cutters for the seat, I can't do a lot. But it'll be fine for this thing. I mean, it's not going in the Formula One or anything like that. It'll, you know, I'll start it and run it for 5 minutes and then it won't be touched for another 6 months. So for this thing, it'll be perfectly fine. We're going to run the whetstone over this, the top of this block, guys, just quickly, just to see how far out. I've had the straight edge on it. It looks pretty good, but the head gasket was leaking. So yeah, we'll just see how far out it is. We'll just give it a quick going over and just see what happens. Now that was just a very light go, guys. You can see the high spots are the shiny bits. So on and so on and so on. Next to the exhaust here, that area there is extremely low. Well, look, you might only be talking about a few thou, but if there's no give in the gasket, that's probably enough. So we've got a little bit more rubbing work to do here. That's of course provided the stone's flat too. This stone's pretty good, but yeah, you know, you want to make sure your stone's flat as well, or you're just going to dig ditches in it. But yeah, we'll concentrate and try and get this down a little bit better than that. That's, you know, could be better. Well, you can see we're starting to get a an edge here now, guys. Diagonally, don't just go all the one way because you'll just do that. So do it diagonally, equal amounts, and that will tend to keep it a bit flat. Ideally, it's got to be done on a machine table or surface grinder or something like that, but once again, look at what you're dealing with here. It's not going back to work, so we just want it to go and be half right. But that's coming down now. That's starting to get there. That'll do us, guys. We've got a good surface right round there, right round. There's no, in there it doesn't matter because there's a void in there for the valves to move, obviously. So where the gasket's got a seal, we're okay. I'm going to go with that. Well, guys, that's the block basically done. Honed, ports cleaned up, and, deburred or whatever. Seats done, valves lapped. Gasket face is all clean. All the threads have been run. Yeah, as I say, down the bottom, so on and so on. All threads, everything. I'm not going to go to the effort of stripping off all that yellow paint. It'll be getting a coat of gloss black, engine black, straight over the top of that. It's clean. The loose material's off. It should be just fine. Once again, look, you can spend a lot more time and a lot more money on machining and so on and so on. The whole point of these videos is to show you what you can do without spending a heap of dough. Yeah, you've got to spend a bit of time, but that's fun. But the whole thing is about, without spending a heap of money on these things. I spend very little on it's all time really, except for consumable cost, CRC and a bit of power and whatever that adds up to, I don't know. But when you put cost into the pleasure and the fun of doing it, and the end result, I think it's a pretty small price to pay. But everyone's opinion's different, and I'm not going to yell too loud because it's not going yet. Well, the block's all finished, guys. Painted up, all the bits and pieces of threads run, all that sort of stuff, as you know. We might do this one a bit differently. Normally I'd clean up every part and then reassemble it. Just for something different, we might just clean the parts as we go and then bung them straight in. That includes all the nuts and bolts. Camshaft's done. Crankshaft's over there on the bench. I've got no room in here. And yeah, we might, just start putting it together slowly and see how we go. So we'll begin by, we'll put the cam in first because I want to check the valve clearances. So yeah, we'll bung the cam in first. Well, before we start throwing our cam in, guys, we've got to put the intake and exhaust valve followers in. Easy mistake to put them in without, to put the cam in without putting these in. Remember we marked one of them and we marked that with a slight scratch, which you may or may not be able to see there. That's the intake, so make sure you put them back the same way. Heaps of pre-assembly lube, whatever brand you prefer. I think they're much of a muchness, but use whichever ones you prefer. That's camming, guys. Rotating quite freely. There's no load on the lobes, of course, because we haven't put any valve springs in. But what we're going to do now is just push the valves in by hand and push them down by hand, and then we can check the clearance, and that sort of simulates the spring. And if we have to, we just pop the valve out and grind the end of it if there's no clearance. And if there's too much clearance, we're screwed. There we go. Yeah, just make sure the oil pump shaft's moving freely, as you can see there, and sort of rotating a little bit as the cam goes round, so that's good. The lifters or the followers should do exactly the same as the cam turns. Yeah, it all helps to aid for even wear. Well, what do you do, guys? That's me intake, and I have got about 14 thou on that, should be 8, and I've got about 25, 26 thou on the exhaust. It should be 12 or 14, I think, from memory. 10 thou too much, easy 10 thou, a bit more. Not much I can do about it. The only thing to increase that or reduce that clearance would be to grind the valve to drop it down a bit more, or grind the seat. Well, I'm not able to do either of them, so guess what? That's exactly where it's staying. Righto, guys, we'll start with the exhaust valve. Put your valve in, put plenty of oil or, your pre-assembly lube, whatever you want, and just put him into the guide like so. Load up your spring with whatever your retaining collet, that sort of thing. Get your clips ready and some grease to hold the clips on the valve. This isn't wound down yet. Wind it down, and I'll try and show you this as we go, but I'm trying to do it one-handed. We'll see how we go. Close your spring compressor up, push your valve through, and you can see those slots, they've got to marry up with those little slots in that, but you'll need the grease to hold it. So we'll put a bit of grease on it and try and sit one in place. That's one of them in place, guys. Grease is holding that there. Now that's got to be rotated around. We'll try and do this. A magnetic screwdriver helps a lot with this. I'll try and do this one-handed. As you can see, that'll rotate around. The grease is holding it in place, as you can sort of hopefully see there. Right, we'll put a bit of grease on the other one and sit it in, and then you can undo the compressor. Well, they're in, guys. As I say, a magnetic screwdriver helps, but you don't want it too strong. In other words, you want the grease to have more grip than the magnet, if that makes sense, because or else every time you go to pull the screwdriver away, you'll drag the little retaining collet away. So, yeah, just a lightly magnetised screwdriver. That's in, guys. What I like to do is just get a screwdriver and just snap that valve. That just makes sure that everything is seated properly. I know that probably didn't come out. You know what I mean. Well, that's the valves in, guys. Those springs were slightly different, even though the parts number says they're all the same. One was slightly longer and slightly tighter. I put that in on the exhaust. Don't ask me why. But yeah, I put it on the exhaust, which is of course that one there. There's your intake. Anyway, they went in beautifully, and the correct spring compressor makes a whole heap of difference. To do that without a compressor, oh man, it is just, you need 2 and 3 people, and it's just a bloody nightmare. You're fighting the spring the whole time, and it's just, yeah, I mean, look, to save yourself a lot of pain, just get the right tool and you'll, you know, it just makes it a million times easier. Well, you come across this occasionally, guys. See those 2 teeth there? You can just make out some marks on them. Now, if you look at the crank, the cam, let me see if I can get a shot. You'll see those 2 dots. Now, they're either side of a tooth, so the tooth has to go in the timing tooth has to go in the middle of those 2 dots. Now, you tell me which one of those 2 marks. Now, that one there looks like it's, oh geez, it's out of focus, sorry. It's got a little bit of a dot on it, and I'm going to try that one, but then that one's got a mark on the tooth. They've been filed or ground, you can see it. Why you would have to do that is absolutely beyond me. Why you would have to mark that or grind it in any way, or, you know, file it is just, I don't know. But this is what you come up against. Some people just don't necessarily know what they're doing, or they've been shown the wrong way. If you're not sure, ask someone. Well, there's those marks, guys. Yeah, looking at the position of the cam and the crank, I would say that's going to be timed. The reason I say that, if you have a look at the lobes on the cam, they're both in the same position, but they're well off the valves, and the crank is in a straight up and down position, or in other words, at the top of its stroke. So to me, I'd take a punt and I would call that correct, but we'll see. As I mentioned on disassembly, guys, that's the plug for one end of the shaft that the camshaft runs on. You have to drive that through, actually from the other way, I think it was. Yeah, you could probably buy these little plugs or Welch plugs, but I just make them out of a bit of aluminium, get the measurements, turn them down, make it just the same size as the hole, just ever so slightly larger, and they tap in and seal up nice, and then you can put that out of that flange on. Well, that's the cranking, guys. Once again, pretty straightforward. Just put those two flanges on with a gasket. I didn't put any sealer on it. I don't think I need it. I should be pretty right without it. It's only crankcase pressure, so it's nothing too high. Provided you've got a good breather, it won't be an issue. We've got to turn up the other one of those for the camshaft, so we'll do that now and put that in. Pistons in, guys. You've seen me do that plenty of times before. Just make sure you stagger your rings, plenty of oil, tighten them down to whatever the tension is, and bend over the tabs if they've got them, and you're basically ready to put the pan back on. Time to put the pan on, guys. The bolts that hold it down had copper washers on them, or half of them did. I've replaced all them. Two of them, those two don't go in because the blower housing actually bolts to them, so we'll leave those two out. The rest we'll put in. Little rocker cutters on, guys. Just cut a new cork gasket for that one, and that'll be fine. Little dipstick tubes in, guys. Just got to polish the dipstick. Carby's back on, guys. No washers under these nuts. Now, the reason being, the studs are too bloody short and the nuts wouldn't get a full bite. So that's how it came. That's how it's going back together, I suppose. Got to organise the governor links. The governor's in, of course, but got to organise the link, which is there. We've got to clean them up. Not putting them back on like that. And adjust it. And we're starting to get there with this one. Head, obviously, haven't got an exhaust yet. I've ordered a muffler and no petrol tank, of course. But yeah, and the magneto. Yeah, I don't know about I know how to time it to the engine, but I don't know how to time the magneto itself. I'm going to do a bit more looking into that. Just cleaning up the pull start pulley, guys. You can see here someone's been belting it to tighten it up, so much so that they've bent the slot or whatever you want to call it. So we're just playing around on the lathe, just squaring it up, truing it up, and just see if we can get it looking a little bit better. Well, that's the governor on, guys, and set, hopefully. Seems to work through its range from full throttle to idle. Yeah, I suppose do a final adjustment once she's going. Well, that's the magneto on, guys. I hope to Christ it's right. I've done everything the book said, followed the procedure, and if you look in there, you can't really make it out. There's two lines, they line up with each other. Yeah, hopefully that's all right. Yeah, we've got spark. We'll see how we go. Well, flywheel's on, guys. Magneto's in, as I said. Starting to get pretty close. Well, we're just about done here, guys. Couple of little things to do. Yeah, shroud and all that's back on. Got really good compression. Got to organise an air cleaner. Got to organise a muffler. I've ordered a muffler. So we'll have to do something with that. That'll screw in, and I'll have to extend, get a bit of pipe, extend it up, and put a muffler on it. But other than that, she's just about done. But yeah, we'll put a bit of oil in it, polish the little filler cap, and that's it. Well, we've got an exhaust happening. Tubers, just got one of those aftermarket mufflers. They're not very expensive, and just a few 1-inch BSP plumbing fittings, all fit perfectly. Also put some bolts with copper washers in here. That's probably the brackets for the mounting the petrol tank. I don't have that. These holes go right through to the crankcase. So you need to put these bolts in or you're going to be blowing all your oil out. So I just put some little copper washers on just to help seal it. Organise a bit of a fuel tank, and we're just about ready to rock and roll, hopefully.
Well, guys, that's another engine done. Come up all right. Yeah, just had to muck about a little bit with the magneto to get the timing right. Something's a bit strange in there, but anyway, it is going. Carby's a little bit funny. It took some aero start to get it to go, but that's fine. But yeah, it didn't come up too bad. Yeah, we've got a new project about to. Well, I've just started. There'll be a video shortly. It's an Aussie RV adventure. It's not an engine. So for those people that subscribe for the engines, I'm sorry, but this will be an Aussie RV adventure. But it's an interesting little project. So, yeah, as I said, thank you to my subscribers, my viewers, and anyone else who contributes anything at all to these videos. Take care, people, and we shall talk soon.